The OnePlus 10 Pro is the latest flagship device to be released in 2022, and although it's only currently available here in China, it will be coming to international markets in Europe, America, and the rest of Asia in early spring at the latest. Pricing starts from around $750 in China, but expect that price to go up when it hits international markets. The 10 Pro is packed with the latest hardware, including the brand new Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, a second generation 120Hz LTPO display, Generation 2 Hasselblad cameras that can shoot up to 8K, a massive 5000 mAh battery, and super fast 80-watt fast charging and 50-watt wireless charging. So after looking in the box, which included that 80-watt fast charger, free case and pre-installed screen protector, let's take a look at the main event itself, the OnePlus 10 Pro. This year OnePlus have released two colors, just black and the one I have here, a cool dark green, which when the light hits it at the right angle gives a very subtle sparkle. But the main design headline this year is the camera unit, a dominating square design consisting of three lenses and the flash, which takes up a large space at the top of the phone and continues to wrap itself around, integrating itself into the metal frame. The rest of the phone is made of aluminium and glass and feels pretty familiar to previous OnePlus flagships, which is a good thing as they're very nice to hold. There is a hole punch selfie camera in the top right hand corner and a very tiny chin at the bottom. The glass screen is curved but in a slightly more subtle way this year, which I appreciate. The display hasn't changed much from last year. It's still a super sharp 6.7-inch Quad HD Plus AMOLED with a resolution of 3216 by 1440, a high pixel density of 525 pixels per inch, a refresh rate of 120 Hz, a peak brightness of 1300 nits, Gorilla Glass Victus, and a 90% screen to body ratio. So still a top-end screen here from OnePlus, with the only difference this year being the second gen LTPO panel, which is the first in any phone that allows the display to manage the hertz count more efficiently, leading to improved battery life. And I must say, this phone, from the brief time I've been using it, does feel buttery smooth, and the battery hasn't gone down that much when in use. The camera system this year is a triple camera setup consisting of the same 48 megapixel Sony IMX789 main camera as last year with optical image stabilization and EIS support, a brand new 50 megapixel ultra-wide sensor with a super large 150 degree field of view, and the same 8 megapixel telephoto lens with 3.3 times optical zoom. Certainly there is a similar color palette compared to last year's OnePlus 9 Pro when it comes to the main lens. Images on all three of these phones look great in good light. The OnePlus phones do have a similar look between them in terms of their attitudes to contrast and color, with only slight differences between them. Whereas the iPhone for sure carries its own unique look with much stronger blacks and clarity in all of its images. If we move into low light, the 10 Pro does well to capture as much light as possible, but I do think the iPhone shot is a lot more natural. In this shot, however, we see a big improvement over the 9 Pro, and perhaps the 10 does well enough to beat the iPhone, which by the way took a much longer exposure than the 10 Pro. The room was nearly completely black, and the OnePlus 10 Pro took the shot in perhaps just over a second compared to the iPhone's 7 seconds. The ultra-wide this year has a larger 150 degree field of view, but in standard mode it's slightly cropped in. Images appear similar to the 9 Pro, sometimes doing better, but in lower light it did deteriorate in a way I didn't expect considering this is a new lens. You do however have the option to go for a full 150 degree field of view, and in good lighting the camera will take some really cool dramatic shots which I can't wait to test out properly. The zoom lens is 8 megapixels and can zoom up to 3.3 times optical. It is also the same lens as last year, and one advantage it has this year is that it's capable of capturing night mode shots, something that all previous OnePlus phones lacked. In the selfie department, the OnePlus 10 Pro certainly gives off the most detail. This year the selfie camera is 32 megapixels, double that of the 9 Pro, and in near darkness it really takes the crown. Video on the 10 Pro seems to have improved over the 9 with slightly more clarity and details and a boosted color scheme, but it's still not quite enough to crown it king over the iPhone, which is still leading the pack. Now, even though the selfie camera on the OnePlus is much higher resolution, for some reason it can only shoot 1080p at I think 24 frames a second because everything looks pretty choppy compared to the iPhone, which is shooting at 4K 60, so I'm not sure what's going in there. I've looked around the settings, couldn't find anything. The OnePlus, however, does have a few tricks up its sleeve that the iPhone doesn't, including 120 FPS shooting in 4K if you really want to capture as much motion as possible, as well as full 8K shooting at 24 FPS. RIP my storage. Talking of storage, the 10 Pro goes up to 256GB and 12 gigs of RAM, but you can actually add more RAM by borrowing some from the storage. It also comes with the latest chip from Qualcomm, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, giving it around a 30% performance boost over last year's flagships. There is also a hyper boost mode for gaming, which OnePlus says will overclock the CPU to deliver better performance, which will be aided by a brand new cooling system. It scored a massive 968,000 points when I ran it through Antutu benchmark, basically beating every other smartphone that has ever existed in CPU and GPU performance. If we look around the rest of the phone, there is a super fast under-display optical fingerprint scanner that is genuinely very quick, as well as face unlock, which also works very well, although it is only a 2D scan. At the bottom of the phone you have a dual SIM card slot as well as the bottom firing speaker and USB-C port. On the right hand side we have the famous OnePlus alert slider, which feels really well built and implemented, as well as the power button. On the left side we have physical volume rockers, and on top an extra microphone as well as the upper speaker and earpiece. The OnePlus 10 Pro is capable of 80 watt wired charging, a 20 watt increase over last year's 65 watt charging, as well as 60 watt wireless charging. OnePlus hasn't released any charging times, but as the 10 Pro has a larger battery this year of 5000 mAh, we can expect this to be around 30 minutes. Running the 10 Pro is Oppo's and now I guess OnePlus's Color OS on top of Android 12. Now actually the phone I have is the Chinese model of the 10 Pro, so the global version OS might still be called Oxygen, but perhaps this will be in name only, with only a few changes suited for international customers. Color OS is actually a really neat operating system that has a nice design language that flows throughout the OS. It has plenty of customization options that Android users will love, as well as a copious amount of neat little tricks and multitasking features. Overall, the OnePlus packs a big punch, but it doesn't come with any crazy features, exclusive hardware, or much to surprise me with. What it does have is everything ready for a 2022 flagship fight, and it's been arranged, crafted, and implemented in that classic OnePlus style, which is for sure evolving. And I will for sure have a full in-depth review coming within the next week, so subscribe so you don't miss that, and help me out by smashing that like button, and I will see you in the next one.